But I really do like your program, man. I love how chill it is, and especially what the cultural kind of differences between like Scotland and what in America, especially where you are over in what the Nebraska. I mean, I'd be classed as the suburban dad over in America. You know, get the house, the wife, the kids, the car, and I have been very lucky, and I freely admit that. And then when I'm hearing the stuff you guys are talking about, I'm like, shit, I get a real case of white guilt here, man. You know what I mean? I feel majorly guilty. I'm like, guys, but you guys can smoke weed. You don't get thrown in jail. So every time you guys are like, yeah, I'm just having a blunt, man. I'm like, you lucky gets. Oh man.
Yeah. A collection of stories. Landover Legend Studios presents. I've been through a lot. The I Can't Make This Up podcast. By Big T.
This is why I don't need to get stoned, man. My brain's just crazy 24/7.
I was just about to say maybe weed, oh, I shouldn't say weed. Maybe the stimulant that you get from weed is already coursing through your veins constantly, and
Yeah, I'm just like a ginger weed. I'm just walking around people and making them high with all my crazy ideas. I'm like, right, so I've got a plan. What? How would you feel about being a Loch Ness monster? Wait, what? You're about 350. You can tell that I was raised on a lot of American TV. Definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, the Landover Legend, aka Big T, and thank you for listening to another episode of the I Can't Make This Up podcast. You have been listening to some of the wild thoughts of my next guest, Mr. Andrew Durning, who joins me all the way from Scotland here on this lovely Saturday morning. And I am thrilled and honored for him to join me on my show today. Andrew, please introduce yourself to my audience.
Well, first of all, to your audience, I very much apologise for the insanity that you have just heard, but believe me, that's actually quite tame. Well, it's a real honour to be on here, man. I love the podcast. I was even working on my impersonation of you, and then I kept thinking, fat white guy impersonating a black guy in America. Well, am I going to get protesters at my door? Well, fuck, I'm going to do it anyway. So this is the I Can't Make This Up podcast. That's the I Can't with a K Make This Up podcast. And I can only really nail an accent if I listen to it enough, so that way you know that I listen to your show.
Oh my God.
For the listeners that maybe on Spotify, I think I may have just gave him an aneurysm. my apologies.
Okay, so that was 95% me minus the hint of a country accent, but
Yeah. We
people
can't win
say
them all, can we?
people say that I have like a southern accent, but
Mhm.
I don't hear it because I don't hear what you hear. You know what I'm saying? I only hear what
Yeah.
the voice that coming out of my head, and to
Yeah,
you
it's
it
the
sounds
same.
differently.
Same. I think my voice sounds actually like quite all right, and then when I hear it back, I sound like someone has like kicked me in the stones. And my voice or I haven't hit puberty yet.
Hmm.
So it's a bad day when your 3-year-old sons probably have a deeper voice than you've got. It's quite crazy because they could be like, "Daddy," and I'm like, "Whoa, you only just got them. When did they drop?"
How
And
old
my
are your
wife pointed
kids?
something out to me what on one of the last podcasts that I was on, and she was like, "It's really weird how you talk." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, when you're talking to me, you talk like you, and then when you talk to people, like if you're on like a call or a podcast, you default into a more Glaswegian sound." What do you mean? So you go from being, "Hi, how are you? Very nice to meet you," to, "All right, mate, what's up? How you doing? I'm from Scotland, man. Let's do this." You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't sound like that. And I listened back and went, yes, I do. It's crazy. But it's I think us judging like the accents over in America, it is really stereotypical because we hear the Southern, we think it's y'all and grits and tobacco and they're gonna bomb everybody from the Mormons to the Muslims, and that's not like for me. This was when I went to Las Vegas and a taxi driver said that to me.
Wow.
It was crazy. Well, he was taking us down the strip. Well, and well, it was me and my older brother at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and he was saying that, and he was like, we just gonna bomb everybody. We're gonna bomb everybody from the Mormons to the Muslims. We don't care who we're gonna bomb. So I looked at him and went, "You don't by chance have a gun in your car, do you?" I went, "Yeah, every cabby carries a gun, man. Just let us out here. Don't care where we are. Just let us out. We'll walk." It was crazy. It was crazy. It was unreal. But that was probably not the most surreal experience when I was in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know I say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I never got laid and I never did any weed. So those ones are out the window anyway. We went to Hooters as you do.
Mm-hmm.
I was a skinny white dude who just got his head kicked in and his teeth knocked out. So of course I felt like I was the ticket. You know what I mean? Walked in, and the security guard kept looking over at me and my brother because even though I was 25, no, I was 24 at the time, I still looked like I was 14, especially like for being over in America. So the guy came up to me and ID'd me. ID'd my brother as well, and then he started that, and he was like, oh, you're from Scotland, man. What type of bands you listen to? And I was like, and I listen to Guns N' Roses, listen to Rolling Stones, The Who. He's like, oh man, I love rock music. I love it. And he started reciting all the British bands that he knew. So we started reciting all the American ones that we listened to back to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was this guy was like, he had thighs that could crack fucking walnuts, mate. And he's
Wow.
like got his arm around me like in the hill. He's like, "You all right, buddy? You all right? You can come back here anytime." And I'm like, "Can't breathe. He there." It was certainly an interesting experience. Definitely. I loved Vegas. Absolutely loved it. I loved Florida as well. That's where I went on the honeymoon with the wife. Well, we
Oh,
2 weeks
okay.
there. I got to meet Mickey. Got to see Captain America. At Universal and all that stuff. It's all the touristy stuff. But the only downside is like it's so warm, and I'm ginger. We die in the
Mm-hmm.
heat. Well, I was literally just like a floating white goop with just this weird orange top just floating around the strip. Well, my wife kept looking at me like, "That's a lovely day, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Kill me. Bring me bring me into something that has air conditioning." We don't have air conditioning in Scotland because it's it's not always miserable weather here. So the summer's been actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've almost been dead on several occasions. It feels like I just lie there and just be like, tell my kids they're annoying.
I feel like I'm on an episode of Rick and Morty right now.
But get your shit together. You get all your shit. Put it together. You gotta take it somewhere. Go take it to this ship museum. I don't care what you do. Just get your shit together.
So I got two questions for you.
Fire away. I've got nothing to hide now.
So, besides Florida and Vegas, did you visit anywhere else in the U.S.? And what was your uh, what was your initial reaction once you landed and seen like the cultural differences?
Yeah, well, the places that I've been are Vegas and New York. Well, no, Vegas and Florida, sorry. New York, I don't know where that came from. I think I was thinking about my aunt. She
Mm-hmm.
loves to go to New York. Anytime she can get to go. Well, uh, I want to clarify straight from the get go that I loved America. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
brilliant. I had a great time in both cities, aside from almost getting stabbed in Vegas.
Wow.
Um, yeah, but that was because my brother was a bit of a drunken git and thought that he could just walk up to guys and be an asshole. And then a guy pulled a knife on him, and I had to literally fling him in the nearest taxi cab and straight back to the hotel. So
Mm-hmm.
that was fun. But when I first landed, it was the queue to get in, the customs, man. I know everything like security is tight what everywhere. It's the same if you come over here. You've got like you feel like you're in a relay race constantly. What with different things. Like I was practically felt like I was gonna have to give them my boxer shorts and be like, right, look, there's nothing in there. It's like, and even if there was, this down there is not packing. It's too small. Like these barely fit. It's cool, man. It's all right. It's cool. But when I got there, like the main thing, what I always say that now this is gonna sound bad, and it's really not intended to, but I'll explain the point and you'll understand it. I always feel like I'm an accidental racist. Now, I'm not racist in the slightest, obviously. Otherwise, I'd be like, I wouldn't be coming on the show. You know what I mean? Well, they'd be like, no, stay away, stay away. But ask the questions that people maybe don't think is appropriate to ask, but it's because I want to find out more about a culture and kind of broaden my knowledge. Best example is one of the guys that I work with. He came from Nigeria, moved to London, and then moved to Glasgow. What because his dad was a pastor and worked with different churches. And that got me really interested in what his backstory. And I asked him, it's like, what type of like services did he give? Was it like the ones that we have where it's really dour and sour? It's like, oh, you're all going to hell. Or is it the ones where it's like this the singing and the clapping and like, we're going to have church, yeah? Because I think they're awesome. I think that's the way it should be. Well, and all my work looked at me like, you can't say that. You can't say that. But he's loving it because he knows that it's not intending to sound bad. It's intending to sound like it was meant to be. I'm curious. I want to know about people and I want to know about the different cultures and different types. But when I first got to America, the first thing I thought, they have guns here and I can't control my mouth. I may end up with a bullet wound. Luckily, I didn't. Because I'm too scared. I'm absolutely terrified. But we did all. I think we could have wound up witnessing like a homicide at a Burger King in Florida once. That was interesting. We went across the road to Burger King, and this guy was clearly having a bad day. What his supervisor was giving him a lot of hassle. And I just hear him going, "I swear I'm gonna kill somebody." I just looked at my new wife, and I was like, "Right, we're leaving."
I mean, if you look at the shape of Florida, it's like a pistol, you know. So you got to
Yeah,
remember that when you
yeah. This was
visit
just
there.
after the this was the same week that the shooting happened as well. What in
Yeah.
Florida? Well, and we were so everybody was on high alert, and we were all about kind of making sure everything's okay. So hearing a guy saying that literally about 3 days after he said, well, after this had happened, well, we were also on edge. Because I mean, we hear about like all the type of stuff on the news and things, but it's never felt like it's been so close to home. Not until
Mm.
we were there. Aside from that, I loved America. I think it's brilliant. And I do, well, you guys have some of the best shows, man. What honestly, like you mentioned one of them, Rick and Morty.
Mm.
Like the cultural impact that your shows make, what not just in America but all over the world. Think about
Mm.
Friends and how much it's played. It's played over in the UK constantly, constantly. So much that I could practically recite series 1 to 10 offhand and not worry about it.
Mm.
It's fantastic. Like so, I always liked watching Friends, Frasier, and then I would switch over to the sports channels and watch the World Wrestling Federation back when it was the WWF. Damn those
Okay.
panda people. I joke. I apologize. I love pandas. But I think if you're too lazy to shag yourself back into out of extinction, not my problem.
Man,
Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Let get a bit of the Scottish blood in you. Like, you'll figure it out.
I think that
No, like,
that's I
I
think
mean,
that
I say
that's
that right now, and I'm drinking that. All right, I'll
a
cover it up
Coke.
just so you won't get done. But I'm drinking a certain popular American beverage. It's always the real thing.
Oh man, I
At
love the
least you've had a good
quotes.
laugh. If you get cancelled, I really apologize.
I don't believe I'll get canceled, and I hope I don't. But at the same time,
Yeah, yeah.
my
Don't worry.
my
Just ignore everything that I say. What? What? I do a lot of charity work, and I do help a lot of good causes and support mental health charities and all that kind of stuff. And I've got a really dark past, so well, if you don't laugh, you cry sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, at this point right now, if you're still listening to my show, you realize that I have no malice intent with any conversation I have with my
Mm,
guests. My show is always to create bridges and share information and
mm,
help somebody out down the line, regardless to, what monetary, backing or,
mm.
anything I might get from it, because
Yeah, it's
these
one of the things I
convers
love about your show as well. Like listening, what as a Scotsman, like it really broadens like everything over here. Like it is a whole new world like to us to listen to. What and I'll be sitting in work listening to it, and sometimes they'll hear me going, "Damn," and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "You wouldn't get it. I don't even get it." A lot, but I feel the struggle. One of the ones that really hit me the most was it was the single mum, but who started her own business.
Okay.
Well, I think it was it was kind of like the essentially like what we call them the Avon ladies, but better.
Yeah.
Well, and how she'd like basically well she had nothing and well she's managed to work herself to a decent career and she's doing really well and what and I was just what sitting there I'm like you go that's brilliant I'm loving it it's inspirational and hearing about like what let's say a lot of your guests have really different stories and different walks of life where they came from, how they've developed, and you handled them so well. I must say, like you let them, like me, you let them waffle a load of pish. Well, and they said they've got actually something important to tell. I'm just talking rubbish. But you're very approachable. You're very respectful to them as well, and it doesn't matter if you'd only met them for the first time like myself or you'd been childhood friends with them. Like you give them the same love and the same appreciation, and I really respect that man. Like, I think it's awesome.
I appreciate that. I spend my life being the book that got judged at first sight, and
Mm,
instead of me, reacting harshly like I used to,
mm,
I adapted, a very even keel persona because someone could be having a bad day and they don't know how to control their emotions, so
mm.
they're gonna say whatever and expect me to give them that same thing back. By me ignoring them or just not responding to them, it'll give them a chance to think. And if not, I'll just put them through a wall or however I feel at the time and go on
I love
about
how
my day.
casual that was. Like you know, if you don't like it, I'm gonna they'll be like in a coma probably for 6 months. Those because those American laws they're tough to break, man. They're tough to break. So just be like, yeah, you might die, but it's worth it. So it reminds me of one of my best friends. Like he's about 6'7". He's built like that. He's a lovely guy, but if you tick him off, you know about it.
Hmm.
What we always call them the firecracker mates, the ones that you love, but you're afraid they'll kill you and all your family if you say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It's like okay, well, I'll just let you be. Yeah.
you know,
But I couldn't help but just point out. I just loved it. It was so casual. It was like I'm just gonna chill and be me. I'll kill you.
I mean,
And I get what you mean, man, because like what it's not as severe, but like over our night there was like having this mop top.
mhm.
What you get well in my case I got bullied a lot for it. Daily beatings, well, especially in high school. What it's the kind and it's treated kind of like the stereotype thing as well. Like everybody sees a redhead guy, they think we're violent, we've got short tempers. Well, thank you, Eric Cartman. We do have souls. Ginger, who invented the ginger? But yeah, we do have souls. Otherwise, we wouldn't take half this shit personally. uh, yeah, so it is one of those things that like I see it all the time. Like people picking on like redhead kids and stuff, and it really it does make me turn it in that stereotype because I do want to put them through a wall. But so I'm quite glad that my kids they're blonde hair, blue eyes. They got their mum's genes, thankfully.
Mhm.
So they might have a chance, but it's quite funny that if you see a baby, and they look at me and they're just like, "What is that weird thing on the top of his head? I don't see that." It's like ingrained. It's like don't speak to the ginger. Don't speak to the ginger. You're like they'll be weird. They'll be violent. Not the case. What we can be. But everybody can be. Well, it just depends on what your mood, your day, personality. But I'm probably one of the most like kind of chilled guys you can meet. With a redhead. It doesn't bother me. Like I call myself more names than anybody else can. I actually dared someone that if they could think of a name I hadn't heard for being ginger, I would give them £5. I would give them £5.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they never thought of them. And I worked the guy for 2 years. Every time we come out, we'd be like, all right, what, but okay, heard that one, move along.
So you've been in Scotland your whole life?
I have, yes. Born and bred in Scotland in my wee district, of Airdrie, then Coatbridge. Not really kind of left that bit. Unless obviously going on holiday. The furthest I've went is Florida further than Canada. You know,
You said, is it further?
yeah.
It's a I can't even say how many miles, but it's at the other end. It's at the
Mm,
bottom of North America, and Canada's at the top.
mm.
So
Right,
it's
well,
above New York, Michigan, and all that.
yeah, so Canada's probably the furthest I've been. Well, I was only like 9 months old at the time, so
Yeah.
I don't remember it, so I don't believe it counts. I went over with my grandparents, and the rumor had it was that my granddad held me by my nappy over Niagara Falls, saying, "Give me a reason to let go."
Wow.
Yeah, apparently I was that bad as a kid. Yeah, I have to really admit it. I was a pain in the backside as a kid. I wasn't. In the 90s, you had to be kind of seen as more as a man's man. Like
Mhm.
you had to be tough. You had to be able to build IKEA furniture in 10 seconds. Like you had to be able to kick a ball. You had to be able to do like all the stereotypical things. And I wasn't like that. I'm still not. But I like acting. I like singing. I'm really creative. And you'd more like to see me imagining like how to play dolls with my boys and never trying to teach them how to kick a ball. They can go to their granddad for that one because he was a football player.
Mhm.
I always kind of felt like the odd one out. Everywhere I went, never really had that kind of feeling that I belonged. And also being left-handed as well. That was a time when they thought that the left-handers were the devil's minions, which was crazy. And they would all get like the nice right-handed servers, and your left-handed ones were ones with big giant green handles that were about this size, and you had to go all the way to the other side of the school to get them. And it would feel quite embarrassing coming back, and you're just like sitting there with trying to figure out how to cut with this side. And if you're writing, you're bumping everybody else, and they're going to stop bumping me. I'm like, well, do you want me to stop writing then? I can't write with my right hand. But I can do this with my right hand.
You can say that again.
Yeah, definitely. So high school was the roughest part, all the bullying and stuff. But one of my mates had said, it sets you up for the man you're going to become. Man, I really wish I could roll back that clock because this man that I've become, Jesus, it's crazy, man. You know what I mean? If this was who I was going to become, man, like my mom should have just been like, nah, right. He's my dad. My dad says I'm adopted for a reason.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. He always told me my brother it was buy one get one free at the adoption center. I take it in the love that it's hopefully intended. Hopefully,
Hopefully, indeed.
yeah.
That's our differences is what makes us great, and
Mm,
listening to you doesn't sound too far from my story coming up.
mm.
I'm
I think
not a
that's why I
very.
relate to your podcast so well. Like a lot of the stuff that you talk about with your experiences, even though it's a situation that I would have no chance of understanding in the slightest. I mean, my stuff is really small compared to the stuff that you guys go through yourselves. Well, on some level, everybody can get not feeling like they belong. And it doesn't
Hmm.
matter if you're like the supposed alpha straight white guy or or a black girl or whatever. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, obviously.
Hmm.
Just everybody has that feeling where they don't fit in. There's something they always feel there's something that doesn't belong, and that there shouldn't be anything like that. It's not acceptable, and it still shouldn't be, especially in 2021. It wasn't acceptable back then. It's like when they say back then, like, well, there wasn't this trouble in my day. Bullshit, it was. It just wasn't reported, or he didn't listen. And it's not fair. It's always why I feel like if the little guy's getting picked on, I'll jump in to help them, even if I wind up getting my ass kicked, because I don't want that to happen to anybody else. I would rather I take the bullet than someone else, especially since I've become a dad.
Yeah, that
My dad always used to say to me, it was like, treat others the way you would want others to treat your mum. And that made more sense than the other way of saying it, because if you want someone, anytime you introduce someone to your mum or whatever, like, you expect them to be respectful and honest and a good person, like, and you would kill them if they even dared go near you or go near your mum. So that really hits home me quite a lot. I think that's sometimes a better saying, like, if you're related to someone that you know and someone that you really cared about.
Yeah, you got to remember, not a lot of people have enough, uh, I guess you could say, confidence to do what's right, because they
Yeah.
feel as though that, they don't want to rock the boat, or they're going to end up on the wrong side. Just like I can't stand to see people record situations of like ladies getting a purse snatched, or some kids jumping on some other kids. Now I can understand that you don't want to put yourself in that trouble, but instead of calling for help, even if you don't get your hands involved in the situation, instead of saying something, you just gonna sit there and record it for what? Views? As
Yeah.
evidence? Like I'm not saying that I'm hoping it happens or I expect it to happen, but if I'm in a fight and I see one of my friends recording me fight, I'm going to stop the fight, whoop his ass, and then go back to what I was doing.
Totally get that, man. That's brilliant. And it's one of the things. It's all that thing always annoys me when you see someone posting up going, "This is disgusting. This is unacceptable." Well, if it was that disgusting to you, why didn't you jump in and stop it? Or why didn't you get someone that was in vicinity? Like, you see all the people that are walking by in the video, and they just look like, just move along, don't want to get involved. I get it if they've got kids and they don't want them in danger. I totally understand that, being a dad now. Never used to get it back then. But now I'm a dad, I really do. But at the same time, you want to make sure you educate your kids to be like, you see that? That's a coward right there. That's a coward that does that. Well, and I'm not saying jump into every fight and, like, if you think you're definitely going to get hurt. I'd always advise, talking about a problem and trying to work out a solution, and jump into violence. I've been in a total of 3 fights in my life. One was a win, one was a loss, one was a draw. And it was purely because, like, the teacher stopped the fight after I hit the guy with the chair. But yeah, it's one of those things that I don't like to be violent much, but I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty if I need to, especially if it comes to, like, with my kids. If something happened to them, I'd be in jail instantly. Well, I would do anything for those boys. I never really wanted kids when I was younger, and then I somehow wound up with 2 at the same time. Yeah, when my dad told me to split my wife in half, he didn't mean the embryo. And that's funny, because it's true, because they're identical twins, and that's what happens with identicals. Like, it's my guy that breaks it up. With fraternals, well, it's 2 separate eggs that get it. So there you go. There's your little every day's a school day for you, my friend.
I wish that there was more dads like you that was courageous enough to protect their kids, and want them to want what's best for their future and their surroundings, because like they say, not to sound mundane or anything, but the kids are the future. They're gonna guide which way the world turns eventually. And if you just out here, kicking out seeds, or you just out here following the norm of what you see on TV and everything, then we're going to be in that future that you see, like in Terminator or Idiocracy or
Oh yeah,
The Matrix.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you
Brilliant
have to.
films, but yeah, bad messages. Again,
Exactly.
another way of how what the brilliance of American cinema has impacted globally. Well, I mean, everybody used to think Keanu Reeves was just, the face of that looked like a block of wood. And then he done, like, The Matrix, and all of a sudden it was like, man, he's he's good. He's good. And I remember watching. We had to do Much Ado About Nothing in college, and they were like, "Right, we're going to show you like the performance with Denzel. No one that has Denzel Washington in it, and Keanu Reeves. He was playing like the bad guy in it, and it was. I love Keanu. I think he's amazing, but his acting was so bad in that. It was unreal. It was horrible. But and so I turned to the guy in my class who was playing his part and went, "There's no way you can do worse than that shit." And he's like, "I feel bad for you. You've got to follow up Denzel Washington." Because I was playing his part, and I'm like, "Motherfucker! Of all the guys, it has to be Denzel. Like, one of the acting greats. Remember the Titans, like, and Training Day? My God, what was it? Was it American X? What was it? What was the one? The one where he was the dirty cop. What was the name of that one again?
That was Training Day.
Yeah, Training Day. I thought it was. I was majorly second guessing myself. But yeah, like such an icon of cinema. And I'm like, I have to play the part he's playing, and he was super suave. He was suave as shit in that film. And I was looking at him going, I can't do that. Well, I'm not like Robert Downey Jr. I can't do that, And everybody will think, yeah, that's awesome. Don't think it's awesome now, but yeah, at the time, well, that's probably an example of real bad racism. We all thought that was acceptable only 20 years ago, and we're like, no, it's not. No, I'm just a dude disguised as another dude playing another dude.
That was I don't want to say it was an educational joke, but it was a play on stereotypes that could have went better. But it still turned out to be, at least it got people talking. It didn't get passed over. It was like, pay attention to what's going on because this actually happens, So instead of it being received as information, it got received as, racist,
Yeah, it's as is prevalent in anything in media, like the whitewashing thing. I just don't understand it. And I think maybe it's just because I'm that little bit sheltered. It's one of those things that I'm like if the part's meant to be for someone, like a black actor or a black female, don't cast a white guy. I think the recent example was the Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Tilda Swinton got cast. And she meant to be like her character was Asian descent, I believe. And they were like, well, why are you doing that? But it shows that they learned from that lesson, especially now that they got the Shang-Chi film out. No, my God, that was amazing. Like the fight scenes and the choreography, just take us straight out of a Bruce Lee movie, man. It's brilliant.
Man.
And that brings me back to another great experience of being in Vegas. So many Chuck Norris t-shirts. So many Chuck Norris t-shirts. It was brilliant. Well, we see these memes all the time over here, and we know Chuck Norris, and the meme of Chuck Norris itself is bigger than Chuck Norris. It's so much so that I had to buy a t-shirt, and it said, Chuck Norris has 2 speeds, walk and kill. That makes no sense. No sense in the slightest, but I had to buy the t-shirt. It was Chuck Norris, man. Well, and I'll tell you something that you should really do. Have you ever had one of those like the kind of 3D experience chairs? Where like you feel every movement that the show and stuff like that. Like if it's like you go over a bump, you'll feel like a rumble in your seat and all that.
Yeah.
Watch a really heavy duty action film in one of those chairs. Like we went to see, it was Expendables 2, which was Expendables 2. But there was so many explosions, so many movement stuff. You feel like you had a 2-hour full body massage, but at the same time your adrenaline's pumping because you're watching so many of your idols kicking ass. So you want to go out and eat a steak while punching a tree and making the earth pregnant, but at the same time you also want to eat kale because you can't move. It's unreal. It's the most contradictory thing I've ever experienced in my life. I just walked out and I'm like, yeah, boys, let's go to a steakhouse. Yeah, but I'm too tired. It's just that I was lying in well, you call them the elevators, and I was like, just carry me home. I'm sleepy. It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's something I would definitely advise. Like, go to one of those things and just go see a really rubbish action movie. Like, it's cheaper than getting a massage any day. I'll tell you that.
So, was there a particular TV show or film that led you to want to pursue acting?
The Godfather Part Two,
Okay.
one of the greatest films in my eyes. Like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Marlon Brando, what for his kind of like cameo-ish performance. Diane Keaton, what the movie itself was just outstanding. It was so well done, such drama, such pathos. It's before Al Pacino started going like full scenery chewing as well. Like he was kind of getting there a little, but he knew where to rein it in. It was like prime Pacino. Like, and having like Don Corleone's backstory played out so well, and that Robert De Niro got the best supporting actor Oscar for it. That shows how well he done. And it's a movie that we have to play over 2 DVDs over here, and I don't mind getting up and changing that instantly because I'm like I need to see the rest of this film. In particular, like that movie itself was like an acting masterclass all round. Uh, TV show wise, Frasier actually.
Okay.
I loved the kind of the witty banter. I love the writing. I love the dynamics of the characters. I think Kelsey Grammer's uh, brilliant. He's like in personal life, he's a fucking nutter. But he played that part so well, and to play that part for so long over 2 different shows, and still find areas where they can grow and develop, and they expand out his family as well. Like John Mahoney, who played his father, like God rest his soul, was absolutely brilliant. Such a great like odd couple kind of dynamic between them. Then you have like David Hyde Pierce who played his younger brother, and I always loved the fact that you never saw Maris, like his wife.
Mhm.
Something I always loved when you have a character in a show that you never see, but the myth of her becomes like so exaggerated that you really couldn't justify it.
Mhm.
Apparently she was like so skinny that she shouldn't even be alive. That she was essentially a walking corpse with a tiny bit of skin. And then obviously you've got the actress who played Daphne, and a massive crush on Perry Gilpin, the one who played the actress who plays Roz. Still do, in fairness. She's on the list. She's on the list. If you're listening to Perry Gilpin, you can knock me back at least 6 or 7 times minimum.
Okay.
Yeah. My favorite character, kind of recurring character, was Dan Butler, who played Bulldog.
Mhm.
I think because he reminded my brother because he was a whoremonger as well. He would sleep with anything that moved. Sometimes didn't care if they were moving. Well, it just reminded me so much of my brother as well. And that was always my Friday night lineup: 9 o'clock, Friends, then Frasier, and then, as I said, before the Panda People came, WWF, the Attitude Era. I loved it. It was some of the best memories of my life. I had no friends. My friend was the TV. And it was great to always say that you wanted to be an actor and stuff because you could watch any shows you want, any TV. And if your mum and dad said, that shouldn't you be doing your homework, you'd say, I am. I'm studying acting. I'm studying how the set's done. I'm studying how they move, how they interact with each other. But all right, fair enough. No worries. It's brilliant. And then they realized I was a crap actor, and they were like, okay, he's clearly not doing this.
That's the beautiful thing about 2020. It gave people opportunity to, create chances and to set out and get to do things that you never got to do.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to actually put something together yourself instead of relying on somebody to pick you up and put you in their production. You can, even if
Mm.
it's something small, it could be something 5 or 10 minutes long, but it'll give you a chance to actually live out something that you dreamed of or that you pursued for years on end.
Yeah.
Not everybody, everybody thinks that, it's $1,000 into my production. It's literally not.
Mm.
But I make it look that way through practice and through going through, just trial and error. I originally
Mm.
started with a couple of microphones are bad audio output, and just me having talks, and
Yeah,
then a little over a year later, I am what I am now through trial and error. But you'll never
yeah,
know until you actually try. It's the
yeah.
people that don't try that make it harder on themselves, in my opinion.
Mm. Well, and it's been especially interesting for me, like listening, like from because I went through your entire back catalogue because well, I'm that guy. I have to binge everything. Uh, well, if I start at the start, I've got to go right through. Well, and hearing how what your styles kind of evolved over the course, and then also like, looking at obviously the YouTube clips as well, and
Mm.
how you were experimenting with how you were set up and all that kind of thing. Like it's something that I really think is quite cool. Like that you actually get to see and hear what your process grow and evolve as time goes on. And it's brilliant. It's really like great to hear. Just it's podcasts are an example that hard work and perseverance does pay off. You may not get the monetary reward, but you're holding a skill that you never really realized that maybe you could do a year ago, and like that only benefits everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I really do. Like that right there is semi payment enough
Mm,
for, even the thought of anyone actually taking the time out to listen to me have a conversation with somebody and,
yeah.
thoroughly enjoy ourselves. So
Hmm.
uh, let me ask you this. How did your show start? And you got to give me a little background on the name outside of what exactly it says.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a bit of an interesting name. Yeah. So it's called That Mental Ginger Show, and it's purely because I have red hair and I have mental health issues.
Hmm.
At first, it started out like probably everybody else's podcasts. Like, we went into lockdown and we didn't have a lot to do. Well, and just thought I'm gonna try it and see how it goes. I like to do that. I like performing. I know a couple of people. Well, maybe I could do something and just see what rolls with it. And there's been some hits and there's been some misses. I look back at a couple that I've done and go, oh dear, why did I do that? Why did I record it that way? And it's through trial and error. But I wasn't taking it as seriously as I should have. It was just something to kind of keep me occupied and just plod on. So I took a wee break from it, and I really wanted to think about the things what that I care about and that maybe I want to do going forward. So I started looking at the title again,
Hmm.
like, and trying to really think, why did I pick that title, bar it just being a joke about the fact that I'm a redhead and I've got mental health problems. And it's because mental health is something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that I think still needs a lot of work to be done to realize that you have to be okay in here before you're okay out here. I mean, physically, I'm a wreck. I'm unfit. I'm fat as fuck. I'm completely done, and I can barely walk the length of myself. But mentally, now, I could run rings around anybody because I took the time to get better. In July last year, I took a severe kind of psychotic breakdown, and I had to be removed from my family for 6 weeks because I was told I was a danger to myself and a danger to them. Being told you're a danger to your kids is probably the worst low that you can ever hit. And I genuinely thought, I can't go on. I can't keep living. I can't live like this. And it was like two paths were before me. Like there was a short one, which was like, just give up, just call it quits now. No one needs you. You're done. And the longer one was, get your head out your ass and fight. And I'm not gonna lie, I considered the short one. Everybody considers that short path, no matter how much they deny it. They'll always consider that path because it's the easy option. It's whether you decide to take the other path and fight. And you've got to find that one thing and laser focus on it. And that was my family. That was my boys, Kieran and Connor. Well, I wanted them to have a dad. I wanted them to have a dad that they could, when they're a teenager, call an arsehole, but think at the same time, yeah, he's okay. Maybe feel a little bit of pride in what he does, but just overall, be there for them. Be good enough for them. Do what I can for them. Make sure that if I'm doing my 9 to 5 job, I'm doing it for them. If I'm trying to get better, it's for them. And for my wife, Alison, who for some reason still puts up with me after all this time and after everything that I feel like I've put her through. So I just focused on that and started fighting as best as I could to get myself back together. And I wanted to do something to kind of raise awareness of mental health as well. And my great aunt, she died just before that COVID. She had a stroke and caught COVID in the hospital, and it was the COVID that killed her. And that sent me into a bit of a spiral at the same time, because we never got to see her and we never got a chance to say goodbye to her. So it was like, I want to do something to honour her memory and raise awareness of mental health. And that's where the idea of making the charity song Flower of Scotland came in, which is our national anthem. And I did that, and I raised over £600 for the Scottish Association of Mental Health. And only on Friday, the song was in that Spotify trending list. We were in the top 5. I had to get someone to explain it to me, because I'm old as fuck and didn't have a clue what it meant. But I told it was a good thing. So after that project started to come to a close, I started rethinking the Mental Ginger Show, and thought, right, I care about the arts, I care about mental health. And those are the shows that people seem to resonate to, where I talk to guys that are in the same kind of field that I've been in, like what they went through, their ups and downs with the business, maybe how mental health and performing arts can balance out with each other. How does it work? How do they interact? And what do they do to stay in positive mental health? Because that business is tons of pressure, no stability. You could be in the highest high 1 minute and the lowest low the next. What do they do to keep themselves in an even keel? Because it can be debilitating. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm doing a sign-off show, but for my original format, where I'm getting some old guests on. We're going to talk the biggest load of shit you've ever heard in your life. And I say this being a complete knob on here, so once again, I apologise. So we're going to talk the biggest load of rubbish, and just maybe rehash some old memories, and then I'm going to start working on my new content. And I've already got some good guests lined up, and I'm saying this because they are good. I'm not just blowing smoke up their ass. So I've got the guys from the promotion company that have taken me on the voluntary basis, Top Talent Promotions. So they're coming on to talk to me. And then I've got a guy called Harmini, who's coming on. He's a guy who writes songs and lyrics for Lawrence Fishburne. Not Samuel L. Jackson, Lawrence Fishburne. Just clarify that right now. I do know the difference, aside from some people. And it's nuts that if I think about this time last year, I was in a room in my parents' house, not allowed to see my kids, and now I've got a voluntary job doing something that I love and that I'm good at, as well as doing my 9 to 5 and getting my podcast up and running. And I'm getting another week kind of podcast on. And this is where you could probably tell if I wasn't crazy before, you're going to tell now. So be prepared, motherfuckers. This is going to be one of the ones where you're really going to give me the death threats. I'm a massive fan of Thomas the Tank Engine.
Okay.
The original Thomas the Tank, not this new all engines go shit that's kicking about, the 2D whatever it is. I love the original books. I love the classic series with the models. It always gave me a sense of comfort and belonging when I never felt like I did. And as I got older, I still liked Thomas, and I thought, is there something up with me that I'm an adult and I still like Thomas the Tank Engine? I mean, my brother still likes Transformers, and he's in his 30s too, so there must be something. So I did a wee bit of scouring on the socials, and there surprisingly is a large adult following of Thomas fandom. And it made me also realize I know nothing when it comes to Thomas compared to these guys. They go heavy into what models the engines are based on, who designed them in real life, what their stories were based on, and I learned the hard way to call them steam engines and not trains. Oh my god, I even got a death threat about that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're really hardcore with this stuff. And I didn't realize that Thomas has actually got deeper lore than fucking Middle Earth, man. It's crazy. So I decided I'm going to do a wee show about it and maybe get a couple of what I'll call normies And we'll read the stories, we'll act them out, do like wee audio stories as if we're like reading stories to our kids at bedtime and stuff. Read through them. Me and a friend of mine who's also a Thomas fan will talk from our side, and then we can hear from the normal side of what they think, and maybe try and put to bed once and for all, is Thomas really just a show for babies? Because that's what people think it is. But the adult fandom go, no, because it teaches you a lot about the harshness of reality and all this kind of stuff. And if you read the books, they are pretty fucking dark as they get on a bit, because it grew up with its audience over 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts talking about like like all the engines are being scrapped and destroyed and essentially being murdered. And I'm like, man, it's pretty heavy shit if you're a 3-year-old. I mean, I didn't read the books until I was like about 10, 11, and I had fucking nightmares about some of these illustrations for years. I still do. It's crazy. One of the stories I vividly remember was an engine falls down a mountain, and they go, right, can't use them anymore, so let's cut them up for parts and use them to make the other engines better. So they're basically telling you, yeah, we took this corpse and carved up his organs, now you guys have them. That's the long and short of that story. And it's purely to make them appreciate what they have. What the fuck, man? This is some serious made up saw shit right here. It's crazy. And you find out some of the real life controversies as well. Like in one of the Thomas books, the Reverend actually put the N word in one of the books. Because in the story, like a quote unquote, the train sneezes at these boys, and the suit comes up and blackens their face. Mm-hmm. So you know where it's going already.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses the line, "What they wear as black as," that horrible word. And that line wasn't removed until the 1970s, and it was written in the 50s, because Audrey didn't see it as the word as a problem. And that's forever been like a stain on that book. Even though it's been redrafted and re-illustrated and all this kind of stuff, finding out these little bits makes you realize there was more darkness than you maybe realize about Thomas. One of the books, and again, it always seemed to be kids that caused the trouble. And you find out that the guys, their fathers beat the crap out of them when they went home. Because it actually says they gave them a good hiding. I'm reading this story to my boys in their incubators with their 10 weeks premature, and I'm like, I don't want them hearing this. They've only just got ears. I don't want them hearing about like a dad battering their kids. Are you nuts? It's crazy some of the stuff that happens with it. I mean, I could talk about Thomas like for ages. I'm a massive like train dork, and because I don't really have anybody to talk to about it, sorry, bud. Because my wife just threatens to divorce me if I talk about this shit.
What I loved about your show when I came across it is that the normalcy in the conversation about mental health, and that a lot of people, I don't want to say ignorant people, but some of them come off ignorant by treating mental health issues as if it's a disease or an infection or something like that you can catch. Like, everyone's different and everyone has their own issues going along.
And everyone has mental health. Everyone has it. So it's mental well-being. You can have good mental health, you can have bad mental health. But everybody's got it, and that's what some people don't kind of realize. They also don't think that it's something that can linger on. They tell you to, just man up, or just get over it. It's nothing that serious. Would you say that guy's just broken his leg or has just been paralyzed? No, you wouldn't. But it's the same deal. You've got a mental handicap essentially in there. Something's not working right in there. You've got to fix that, and you're trying to fix it. You're trying to do everything you can. It's taken me just over a year to get to the stage where I was able to, me and my therapist were able to say, look, we can cut down the sessions. And it's been a year of constant work, improvement, finding out what I'm doing wrong, adjusting and learning from it, looking up every fucking bit of advice I can find to keep myself on an even keel for my family. And it's scary when you can't trust your own mind. It's really frightening. It feels like it feels like someone's taken over your body, and you don't know what it's done, or what you've been aware of it, you've seen it, you've experienced it, but you can't believe it's you that's done it. When I had my breakdown and talking about the stuff that happened, it's not comfortable to talk about, not in the slightest, but it needs to be talked about. It's part of my history. It's part of who I am as a person, and it's something that people need to know if they do meet me. But that's who I am. That's always going to be me, and I'm never going to stop fighting to try and be the best version of myself that I can. And as I said previously, it's for those kids. It's for Kieran and it's for Connor. I want to make sure they've got a daddy that they can say, yeah, he's a bit messed up, but he's our messed up. He's our dad. And even when I wasn't well, if they would see me crying. I'm not ashamed to say that my boys have seen me cry. But as long as you explain why, explain that it's not to do with them, it's just daddy's having a hard time right now. You might not understand it, but it doesn't take away my love for you and how much I care about you. But I need to do these things, and sometimes it means having a cry rather than punching a wall. So you don't see that and start thinking that's your coping strategy. That's the last thing I would want for my boys. And yeah, it's rough to talk about, but I have to. And I'm going to keep going. And if it makes people uncomfortable, then maybe they need to have a look at it in the mirror.
Yeah, I
And that's why I
100%
make the
agree.
jokes after all these things as well, because I'm like, yeah, when I go heavy, it's like, shit, let's do some self-deprecating humor. So about the fact that gingers are all racists. But we're not. Again, it's breaking the tension. Because I can be deep, but I can also be a real pain in the ass. But it also shows how much I trust you, even just from this conversation. Because I wouldn't make these type of jokes if I didn't think that you were a good guy to talk to. I would have my guard up and be a bit more reserved. And sometimes you've got to just roll with the flow. But that all depends on who you're talking to. And you've been letting me like rabble like a budgie for well over an hour now, and I really do appreciate it, man. I really do. As my kids scream for me in the background. I really do. I really do appreciate this, man. This has been brilliant. Thank you so much for having me on. I really mean it. Thank you.
Hey man, not only do I appreciate you for sharing these things with me, but I like getting to know people and seeing how they actually are through conversation because you're going to be you regardless to where you are, even if you don't know that it's slipping out.
Mm,
And I don't look at it as defense mechanisms or
mm,
people putting their guard up. It's this is how I react to certain things because this is how I feel.
mm,
And people don't a lot of people don't know how to read people and understand that, it's like that term read the room, you know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? Because
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
so
Scottish are
inside their
not very
head.
good at that. I have to be upfront with that one. We really can't read the room. Sometimes, especially if you're my dad. Only
But
kidding. I love him to death, but can he stop saying I'm adopted? I'm 34 now. But yeah, yeah. For
hey.
example, that's me not reading the room. But yeah, I really do appreciate that you do let us you make all your guests feel comfortable enough to just be themselves and talk about what their stories like that. I've been listening to a lot of fake doctors, real friends lately, and they're saying that's keeping it 100 right there, as they say.
Yeah, I love Zach Braff and Donald Faison, man. They
Yeah, yeah.
even before Scrubs, I always
Mm,
loved Donald Faison, and then when I
mm-hmm.
seen their chemistry on and off camera, I was just like, oh, when they
Yeah.
podcast dropped last year, I was like, oh, I gotta watch this. Oh, I gotta
Mm-hmm.
listen to this. This is going to be funny,
Yeah.
and it is almost
Yeah,
every episode.
it's really good. I loved Scrubs when I was a teenager. And once again, they had good chemistry. And let's say I knew Donald Faison's work from like Clueless, Remember the Titans,
Mhm.
things like that, and Zach Braff. He just reminded me of me. Because I had that same weird Q-tip style haircut when I was a teenager. Now having that type of haircut when you've got ginger hair, and you're wearing a big Limp Biscuit mosh or hoodie, that doesn't work well. It was the 2000s. We had Mosher hoodies, the big massive jeans with the chains on them. Oh my god! Now I realize why people beat the shit out of me. I look at that and I'm like, man, I noticed that now. I get it. But yeah, it's always fun. If you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at, really?
I laugh at myself all the time. I do the dumbest shit, like, accidentally hop out the car when it's still in drive. You
Oh
know,
yes, yeah.
try
Oh man, that's
I try
amazing.
to walk through my house dark when I'm drunk.
Mm,
like I'm a ninja or something, and I'm trying to remember
yeah.
where all the furniture is. Little stupid
Hmm.
stuff like that. But
Yeah.
you know,
With me, it's in the mornings. I remember one of the times that I was trying to find my phone. I couldn't find my phone anywhere. I need to get ready to go to work. I'm trying not to wake the wife. I'm trying not to wake the kids. So like I'm creeping like proper Ethan Hunt, Mission Impossible style, trying to avoid all the creaks in the floor, not to wake them up. Diving in, having what we call a horse wash, where it's just basically like a quick under here and under the arms.
mhm.
Make yourself sorted. Going down the stairs, I'm still like, where the hell's my phone? Where the hell's my phone? Not realizing that thing I was using as a flashlight to see was my phone. Yes, I was that fucking stupid. I
I
looked at it and I'm like, I need a life, man.
I had a similar experience, but the situation made me look crazy. So
Right.
at the
I
at
love
the
crazy, as you know. I'm like,
at the time, I had two phones,
mm,
and a work phone and a personal phone,
mm.
and I
I thought you were about to say, yeah, the burner phone there. And I'm like, right, we're going to Breaking Bad shit right here.
nah, not Breaking Bad, but
Yeah.
I called my friend because he had just left my house.
I can't make this up. Being the wingman got me punched in the face by this crazy chick. I can't make this up. Gave this cool old man a ride home, now I'm harboring the fugitive. I can't make this up. Pinned between the fat chick and the speaker, now my shirt smell like her backside. I can't make this up. It's all bad cause my man about to get stabbed in his hand over french fries. Bet. I'ma let T tell you that story one day, man. It's a good one. And I'ma let the Landover legend do the rest. I'm out.